So today, lads, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Annie Costabile situation, where she's obviously talking about Caitlin Clark and obviously Caitlin Clark in these entire CBA talks. And for me personally, I think this is it is an important thing to talk about because everyone's complaining about Caitlin Clark not speaking up, yada, yada, yada. And Annie Costabile's actually, spoke about this. And I think this is a key point to think about, or a key point to talk about in general, because people are wondering, why she doesn't speak out. And I mean this when I say this, I also think a big reason why she's not saying anything about the CBA, like a single word about the CBA, is because the last time she said, we want to play, we can't stop the momentum, she got attacked by the media. So instead, she is saying nothing. Because in fairness to Caitlin Clark, she is calculated when it comes to speaking. She very rarely will say something without thinking about it. So anyway, let's take a listen.
How much obligation should Caitlin feel at this point from her peers and from her league to stand up and try and help move this thing forward?
So I get what you're saying in the sense of Caitlin is the face of the league. She has power. When she speaks, people listen. That's very valid, but she's also a very calculated person when she does speak. And I think the people leading these negotiations are not necessarily asking that of her. And so if you're Caitlin, is it your job to supersede player leadership? I don't think that is a tactic that seems like one Caitlin would ever take on.
So pretty much, yeah, they don't want her to talk. And again, I think there's some truth in that. I personally, in my opinion, I believe that some people in the WNBPA committee didn't want Fee to talk. I believe there are people that didn't want Kelsey Plum to say what she said. I believe there are people in the WNBPA that want to strike. And I don't think that's a crazy statement to make, that I think that there are people that want to strike in the WNBPA. Because at the end of the day, this is all now this has just become a really weird situation where it's clear that even the executive committee aren't on the same page. So Caitlin is very clearly with the young players. The young players want to play. The young players and the stars want to play. It is the age 30 plus vets who might only have 2 to 3 years to go in their career that don't want to play. But the problem is that there's a lot of those players currently in the league. But in 18 months, how many of those players do I think will be in the league? The answer is very few. The league is going to be... I don't think people realize when it comes down to it, the older role players are going to be not ran out of the league, but they're going to be replaced very quickly. The older role players don't really have that much of a use anymore because, again, teams would rather have younger players there who they might be able to develop into players than having older role players. And again, with the way the CBA is, you might sign somebody to let's just say it's $250,000 as a minimum. You might be able to sign someone to a 4-year contract, to a 4-year min contract for $1 million. And let's just say, again, I'll use an example that I'll talk about a little bit later in a video, Elena Buenavida, who is a borderline first-round pick level talent. She's a borderline first-round pick level talent, and she is younger than every single NCAA college player. She's younger than every single one of them that is playing in college right now. Sorry, lottery pick. Not that are in the draft. Every single lottery pick, she's younger than. So Elena Buenavida is somebody that could absolutely be a key piece for your team. And if you're able to tie her down a 4-year, $250,000 deal on a minimum, which could be done, to be honest, because she's making probably $50,000, $60,000 to play in Spain right now. Maybe a little bit more than that. But it's not a crazy amount more than that. But if you get a player like that, it's oh shit, we have her till she's 20. We have her till she's 25 on a minimum deal. She could become a starter. And instead, we could go and give that same amount of money to Lexi Brown, who isn't going to be available for half the time, who's just going to be another player, and in 2 years' time is going to be out of the league and isn't ascending, is a descending player. So yeah, look, it is a very interesting situation all around what is happening with these vets, and I think they're the players that aren't really looking at striking. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, a Caitlin Clark, like, they obviously don't want Caitlin Clark to speak. Caitlin spoke already. She's not the head of Players Association. What are they trying to have her start a coup? Like, I mean this when I say this. I think there is a percentage of the media, and I think there is a small percentage of players that are probably secretly hoping that the star players basically do start a coup. That one star player just says, fuck this, we're playing. We don't care. We're putting in a vote of no, we're starting a vote of no confidence in the union. And then we're going to set up our own thing, and we're going to make a deal with the WNBA, and we're going to play. We're going to play, and you can play if you want. You can not play if you don't want to. And I think there are, without question, players that are maybe not to that extreme, but are pissed off enough with the union that there is at least a thought in their head of, shit, can we just bypass these? Because with the frustration of not playing, like, for all these players is absolutely huge. So I think a lot of people are, again, when they're asking Caitlin Clark to speak, I think there are people, whether it's fans, whether it's like, even the Caitlin Clark haters want her to say something so that they can attack her. But there are fans that are hoping that Caitlin Clark leads some freaking revolution against the WNBPA, and it gets a season going. And I wouldn't be that surprised if there are fucking players that wouldn't be opposed. I'm not going to say they would ever publicly say it, but, like, in the back of their head are thinking maybe this could happen and this will be a positive thing. But at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark's involvement in this entire weird scenario doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone. All it does is start this entire, like, dialogue where Caitlin Clark is now where she becomes the focus of everything. And at the end of the day, we're at the final stages. We're at the final stages of a negotiation where there are very few things that are bigger than Caitlin Clark, but for the next 10 days, this absolutely is bigger than Caitlin. For the next 7 days, this is bigger than Caitlin Clark. She doesn't need to speak. Nothing she says that will help negotiations further. Like, it is what it is. Like, nothing she says will make anything better, which is a pity at the end of the day. When it's all said and done, like, you would hope that Caitlin Clark has the ability to Caitlin Clark would have the ability to, help out the league. But, like, at this stage, Caitlin Clark has very little to do with this, as does Paige Bueckers. Like, I don't think what Paige Bueckers, Kelsey Plum, or Kelsey Plum said, especially what Paige Bueckers said, is going to help anything. Because there are people on the PA, there are players that definitely are pissed off what Paige said. And the reality is that the more infighting there is, the more likely it is that nothing gets the Players Association are pissed off at their own players.